The rain had started just before noon. At first, it was only a soft whisper, tiny droplets tapping gently against the leaves, like nature practicing a quiet lullaby. But soon, the sky opened wider, and the forest surrounding the old treehouse came alive with the soothing rhythm of steady rain. High above the ground, nestled between the strong arms of an ancient oak tree, stood a small wooden treehouse. Its walls were worn but sturdy, its windows glowing with a soft golden light. Inside, everything felt warm, safe from the gray, misty world outside. Ion sat cross-legged near the window, watching the rain trickle down the glass. Perfect weather, he murmured to himself, pulling his woolen shawl tighter around his shoulders. Today wasn't just any rainy day. Today was a cooking day. The treehouse kitchen. The treehouse wasn't big, but it had everything Ion needed. A small wooden stove sat in the corner, gently crackling with firewood. Shelves held jars of spices, dried herbs, and carefully stored ingredients. A tiny lantern hung from a hook, casting a golden glow across the room. And right in the center, a sturdy wooden table. That's where the magic would happen. Ion stood up, stretching lazily, and tied a cloth apron around his waist. "All right," he said with a smile. "Let's make something special." Outside, the rain grew heavier, as if the sky itself was excited. Gathering the ingredients, Ion reached for a basket near the door. Inside were fresh vegetables he had gathered the day before, carrots, potatoes, onions, and a bundle of herbs tied neatly with twine. He picked up a small pouch of spices and opened it, inhaling deeply. Perfect. From another shelf, he brought out chunks of beef, already cleaned and prepared. "Beef stew it is," he declared. But not just any stew. A bread bowl beef stew, the kind that fills your stomach and warms your soul. The sound of cooking. As the pot heated on the stove, Ion poured in a little oil. It shimmered instantly. Then came the onions. SSSSSSs. The sound filled the treehouse like music. Ion smiled. Cooking, to him, wasn't just about food, it was about moments like this. The sizzling, the aroma, the quiet joy. He added garlic next, then the beef. The smell grew richer, deeper, wrapping around the room like a comforting hug. Outside, thunder rumbled softly, but inside, everything felt peaceful. A memory in the rain. As the stew slowly cooked, Ion leaned against the window again. Rain always brought memories. He remembered being a child, sitting beside his grandmother in a small kitchen much like this one. She used to hum softly while stirring a pot, telling him stories about magic hidden in simple things. "Food made with love," she once said, "has a warmth that stays long after you finish eating." Ion smiled at the memory. "Guess I'm still learning from you, Daddy," he whispered. Preparing the bread bowl. Now it was time for the bread. From a cloth-covered basket, Ion pulled out round loaves, golden brown, slightly crisp on the outside. Carefully, he sliced the tops and hollowed out the insides, creating perfect bowls. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the stew's aroma, creating something irresistible. He placed the bread bowls near the stove to warm them slightly. "Almost ready," he said. Berry tea magic. But something was missing. "Tea," Ion said, snapping his fingers. No rainy day was complete without it. From a small jar, he took dried berries, deep red and purple, bursting with natural sweetness. He dropped them into a kettle of hot water. Slowly, the water turned a rich ruby color. Steam rose gently, carrying a sweet, fruity fragrance through the air. Ion poured the tea into a glass cup, watching the berries swirl inside. Perfect. The storm outside. The rain had grown stronger now. Wind rustled the leaves, and droplets raced down the window in shimmering lines. The forest looked alive, mysterious, almost magical. From the balcony, water dripped steadily, forming tiny puddles below. But inside the treehouse, the warmth held steady. Fire crackled, steam rose, everything felt just right. The final touch. The stew was ready, thick, rich, and full of flavor. Ion carefully ladled it into the bread bowls. The warm broth soaked slightly into the bread, making it even more delicious. He sprinkled fresh herbs on top for a final touch. Then he placed the bowl on the wooden table beside the steaming berry tea. For a moment, he just looked at it. Simple food, but made with care. A quiet meal. Ion sat down, pulling the bowl closer. Outside, rain played its endless song. Inside, he took his first bite. Warm, savory, comforting. He closed his eyes. "This is perfect," he whispered. The bread was soft, the stew rich, and the tea added a gentle sweetness that balanced everything. It wasn't just food, it was peace. Unexpected visitors. As he ate, a soft sound came from the window. Tap, tap. Ion looked up. Two small birds sat on the ledge, feathers wet from the rain. He chuckled. Hungry, are you? He broke off a small piece of bread and placed it near the window. The birds hopped closer, pecking gently. Don't worry, he said softly. There's enough for everyone today. The feeling of home. Time passed slowly. The rain didn't stop, but Ion didn't mind, because in that little treehouse, surrounded by the sounds of nature and the warmth of a homemade meal, he felt something rare. He felt home, not just a place, but a feeling, a promise to return. As the meal ended, Ion leaned back in his chair, holding the last sip of berry tea. The sky was still gray, but it felt softer now. Peaceful. I should do this more often, he said. Not just cooking, but slowing down, enjoying the little things. The rain never felt so warm. Outside, the storm continued. But inside, the treehouse glowed like a tiny star in the forest. Ion wrapped himself in a blanket, listening to the rain. The scent of stew still lingered in the air. The warmth of tea stayed in his hands. And for the first time in a long while, everything felt exactly as it should be. The end, or just the beginning. Because somewhere in that quiet moment, Ion realized something. Rainy days weren't meant to be sad. They were meant to be slow. To cook, to remember, to feel, and maybe, just maybe, to create a little magic of your own.